All right, everybody, welcome back to Red 13. Here we go. This is basically going to be, my cat's walking around. This is going to be basically where we go over the order I would rank the players as we come out for the rookie draft. We got the NFL draft right around the corner. And what better time than to talk about the players when it comes to who would we want on our fantasy teams. There's a whole bunch of things when you take this into consideration. One of them is always, what does your roster need? We want to go for one, best talent. 2, your team needs. 3, your favorite players. Maybe someone you've been itching. You really, all this time, you've been a gigantic Bryce Young fan. I almost called him Bryce Love from the Washington, but big Bryce Love fan. And see, I did it. I knew I would. Bryce Young fan, and this is your opportunity to get him. You don't care about what the rankings are. Anything above that, you're going to go for that. So as we go through this, take some of these in consideration. Okay, if you are in position where you are 1.3 and this is going to be all Superflex as well. We're going to base just off of Superflex and who we should take. Now, there are hundreds of experts. They're all going to tell you something different, but a lot of them agree on certain points. I'm just another guy who's giving you what I plan on doing. A lot of that's what it is. What I plan on doing, maybe I can make some good points for you and you can take that and push it with the other experts and go from there. So as we get to this, we're going to treat this, I'll tell you both positions. One, the first one will be if I had zero roster, right? You are just, let's pretend you are just hypothetically taking your team from what is available right now in a Superflex. Your roster's blank. Who are you going right now with this draft to build the team? And then the second one will be, who would you take if you had a well-balanced attack, right? Or let's say you had no quarterbacks, or you had 3 strong quarterbacks, whatever the case may be. So here we go. Superflex rookie draft, and the first player off the board, we all know what it is. It's Bijan Robinson. He's been the top prospect for a long time. They want to say he's one of the most hyped running back prospects in years, right? They say since Adrian Peterson, possibly LaDainian Tomlinson. You also got Ezekiel Elliott. The one that always comes to my mind is obviously I've always pumped Saquon Barkley as the best running back in football in this era. He just is not on the best team in football. And I think Bijan Robinson, depends where you go. Either way, you're taking him. But he goes on a great team, then all right, that's awesome. That's, think of Zeke with that Cowboys offensive line as they got better. Rookie of the year. And with Bijan Robinson, size, check. He's physically a freak, but he's not Derrick Henry big, but he's got other things better than Henry. 2, he is incredibly shifty with his moves, with his agility. And 3, speed. He's got speed to burn. He's not Charles Johnson, CJ 2000 or C2. Who cares? Let's move on. And the combine. He had an outstanding combine. He checks all the boxes. With him, he's got, like I said, Barkley, Elliott, LT. Remember, Barkley was 2nd overall pick, and he's done better than Baker, who was 1, and he's done better than Sam Darnold, who was 3. When that pick happened, I remember there was a lot of experts, why would you take Barkley when you have someone like Sam Darnold out there? You need a quarterback. You're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Barkley was probably the safest pick out of everyone, right? And I think I like C.J. Stroud and Young way more than I do Darnold and Baker Mayfield at that time. So I'm not going to say this is the safest pick when it comes to running backs, but he is going to be the end-all everything. The hype, the talent. On this level, he is a 5-star. So we know if you have him. That's if you're starting the team, or even if you have everything. If your team, if you got 101 and it's not through a trade, you don't have everything. So interesting point here. Let's go with one hypothetical situation. You sucked all year. Your team was garbage. You got the 101. You knew it with like a month to go. You were going to get the 101. At this point, what if your quarterback is like a Malik Willis or with Ryan Tannehill? Let's say you have a Tannehill and a Jimmy G. Are you going to do 101 and grab Bijan Robinson when you know there's someone like C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young on the board? In a Superflex, we know QBs are... Now, there will be guys who do it. I'll share a point about that in a bit. But let's live in this moment. What would you do? Let's just stick with you have 101 and that's it. Man, that's a situation where, like we were saying, I might trade 101. If you could find 103, where hey, I'm still going to get one of the top 2 quarterbacks. 103, who and maybe a early second or another talented player maybe another decent, an RB2, a potential James Cook, someone like that, who might come out and help you from the Buffalo Bills, yeah, make a trade like that. Because then you can still get that quarterback. Because quarterbacks have on average, longer life shelves in fantasy. And both these guys are expected to do big things. They're supposed to be top level players. So that would probably be the only thing. Starting over, getting Bijan. If you can't make a deal like that, just go Bijan. Right? You're building a team. Maybe you'll have Bijan, you'll have a great piece, and you'll suck throughout the year, and you'll get 101 next year or even 102 and grab the next quarterback who comes up. So Bijan Robinson, number 1. Now, let's get to the second overall pick. Next guy on the board. I just lost, let's say it's me, hypothetically. I just lost Bijan, and I'm building my team. This is who I would personally take, and that is C.J. Stroud. There's a lot of hype on Bryce Young. There's a lot of hype all of a sudden on Anthony Richardson. We'll get to him. But with C.J. Stroud, he has proven it. So has Young. 6'3" and 200 pounds. He is prototypical, bigger, built, and he excites me more. I look at him, and he's a guy where I go, I feel like he's not the scrambler Justin Fields is, but I feel like he's a guy who could take some hits, right? He's going to be on a team that is not top level. He's going to be a team with one of the top 5 picks in the draft. So he's not going to be looking at a team with an outstanding offensive line. So right off the bat, we go, okay, he's going to get hit. Can he take it? Yes, he can. Listen to these college stats. Over 8,000 passing yards the last 2 seasons with 85 touchdowns. We've seen situations like that. Remember Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul. Dwayne Haskins put up great passing numbers with Terry McLaurin at Ohio State. Sometimes throughout the years, this is different. Justin Fields, I think he has shown how great of a quarterback he can be. He just needs more time. His team is developing as he is. His legs are what saved him a lot of the times. We're not going to see that with C.J. Stroud. But coming into this year with C.J., the arm, the only thing would be maybe this first year, he might not have many weapons. If it goes to Carolina, I would feel safer going to Houston. Houston or the Colts have receiver weapons. Carolina, they got rid of DJ Moore. They don't have much there. Laviska Shenault, Terrence Marshall. So he might suffer a little. I think fantasy, he might still have some good games. But I feel safer with C.J. Stroud's health and long-term capability, especially when Carolina builds around him. By next year, you might go, man, I'm so glad I took him at number 2. That's who I would grab right now if it came up to that. Now, let's say you got quarterbacks. There are we've seen teams who make trades throughout the year and acquire it. Let's say hypothetically you're set at QB. This is another situation with Bijan where you go, hey, maybe the guy in 1 took Bijan like they should. Do you trade back? Trade back to 4, trade back to 5. If you need running backs and Bijan's gone, look for Gibbs. Go for Gibbs. We'll talk about him in a bit. Go after Gibbs. Drop to 4 or 5 and get Gibbs, or maybe even 4, grab Gibbs or grab JSN, something like that. Because that is something where you're helping your team. The last thing you need is to go grab someone like C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, who should be drafted here, and have him sit on your bench when you already have, let's say, Tua. Well, Tua might get hurt, but someone in that capability that is sitting on your bench while you're starting Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, and maybe Kyler Murray and someone else. The point is, why grab extra pieces to sit there when you are clearly able to grab a weapon that can help you right away? So yeah, second was C.J. Stroud. Get him if you're building the team. If you have no quarterbacks, that's who I would take. If you do have all those weapons, like I said, look to trade back to probably 4. All right, our number 3, obviously it's going to be, like a lot of experts do have Bryce Young ahead of this. I have Bryce Young at number 3. Alabama, basically he's almost identical size to Kyler Murray. So we know Kyler Murray's successful. Bryce Young is not much of a scrambler. He can run, but he is nowhere near the level Bryce Young is. We've seen Kyler Murray be very successful with his size, so we can throw that out. It's you want a C.J. Stroud type, but in college in Alabama, he showed, hey, Heisman Trophy winner, that he can avoid the hits. He can also be, we'll see what he does when he gets drafted. But he could show on a personal level, I love Bryce Young. I was so glad he won the Heisman. I couldn't wait for him to come out in college and get drafted and see what team he goes to and get him in fantasy football. So if you can get him here at 3, heck yeah. I'm 100% comfortable with him as well. The only fear would probably be he's going to go on a team, just like how we didn't see the weapons. The Texans might have better receiving weapons. Are they going to be able to protect him? That's the big thing. He gets hit too many times. Like, he's not able to get out and scramble. If he gets hit too much, will he start to, Kyler's been excellent at avoiding injury for the most part in his career. And it's always been tapped into his baseball skills, right? He knows how to sliding into second base, sliding into third base. He can do that in football. He's really good at getting down, avoiding the big hits, and not really getting seriously injured until this last season. So do we know that with Bryce Young? How much baseball background does he have? Is he gonna be able to apply any of that? Is he gonna be on a team that he's constantly on the move, on the run? Let's look at his stats. 8,100 more yards in the last 2 years than C.J. Stroud. 79 touchdowns. And like I said, he can run if needed. He's a better scrambler than C.J. Stroud is, just not as strong or big. So Bryce Young, I am very comfortable with him here at 103. It's all preference with 103 or 102. I feel safer with Stroud than Young, but with talent-wise, both of them, I think they can be top 10 quarterbacks by next year. I'm not putting anything in these guys to carry my team now. This is basically rebuilding. So Bryce is the same as what I said. If you already are set at quarterback, try to trade from 3 to 4 if you can and get whatever else you can extra. I mean, heck, even if you want to go to 5, because then if someone does take Richardson, you can always get JSN or Gibbs, vice versa, whatever one gets taken. Okay, number 4 right here. This is what I would take right now if the team was blank, and that is Jackson Smith, JSN, wide receiver out of Ohio State. He has outstanding agility, amazing hands, and almost uncoverable, especially since he's a slot receiver. He's going to be he is the top wide receiver in the draft. He's the one that everyone's going to go after. He's 21. In the year 2021, that season, remember, you had Olave and Garrett Wilson there. Garrett Wilson, the AFC Offensive Rookie of the Year. Olave, look, both of them, great outstanding stats last year in NFL. So you look at it and you go, well, how did he do with this? This kind of reminds me of Alabama. Remember when all the hype, when Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs came out, and it was like, man, look, you got Ruggs, you got Jeudy. Which one's going to be drafted? CeeDee Lamb. And then it came down, Ruggs was first, Jeudy, and then I think Lamb. And in that, from Alabama, all that talk, they kept saying, well, actually, of the 3, Devontae Smith was the best one who ended up getting drafted by Philly. And we saw it. Now, he was opportune situation, right? The other receiver on his team got hurt, so it was basically all on him. So he got all the targets. He got all the work, and he won the Heisman, deservedly so. And we saw in the NFL, he's had 2 outstanding seasons. So I'm wondering if that's what this situation is going to be like. Same thing with Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, right? Jefferson comes out, Chase doesn't, and Chase is considered better. And look what Jefferson did, and then Chase comes in and blows the whole thing up, gets to the Super Bowl. Is that another situation here with JSN? Is it going to be, you had Olave and Wilson, who were both second. Look what he did the year with both of them there. 95 receptions, 1,606 yards, and 9 touchdowns. That is through the roof when you have a guy like Garrett Wilson, Olave as well with C.J. Stroud. So that offense was top-notch, kind of like Alabama, and all those guys, besides Ruggs, which we know the whole situation there, but all of them flourished with Tua, with Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, all of them. They're all flourishing. And Ohio State, the first 2 receivers out, did well. Justin Fields is doing well. I think Stroud and also JSN will do the same. So if I had the 4th pick, the 3 guys who just went ahead, right, Young, Stroud, I'm taking JSN right here. I am 100% confident with his receiving abilities. I think he's going to be, especially playing from the slot, I think he's going to be almost unguardable. I believe once he gets a little better, depending on the offensive team he goes to, he can put up crazy Wes Welker type numbers, right? 95 to 105 receptions, 1,500 yards. Maybe the low part might be he was with 9 touchdowns on that year with Olave. I believe Olave and Wilson both had double digits, so he was the least touchdown of the 3. It's not often you see a slot guy getting too many touchdowns, especially when you get down near the red zone. So unless you're Wes Welker. But that would be the only thing. So that is it for the top 4. I'm just going to do 6 today. This episode is just going to be 6. And then we'll do the next 6 for the next one. So here we get to number 5. Number 5 on there, Superflex still. But even if my team is blank, I take Gibbs right there. Running back, Alabama, 5'9", 200 pounds. Little short, 5'9". Now, who am I saying? Look at me, I'm short. But compared to running back standards, a lot of times they want you 5'10", 5'11", somewhere at that point. But he's still 200 pounds. You know, he can put it up. He's fast, outstanding acceleration, and amazing hands, great hands. So that's the biggest thing is I think when you read about him, it says, you know what, can he be a 3-down back with his size? I think he can. 5'9", 200 pounds. That's a running back that can go out there and put it up, and he can take the hits. But you're going to see him on third down. Maybe he won't get first down. Maybe he'll get occasional work. But you're going to see him out there on third down, pass catching back, and still there will be drives he might be out there majority of the drive. He's strong. I think he can do all things as running backs. 926 yards rushing, 6.1 average, crazy, and 10 total touchdowns on the season. He had 44 receptions with 444 yards receiving. Look at all those fours. A lot of people at this point are going to want to go after Richardson. They're going to want to go after Will. You know, they want to go after the other quarterback. And so they're just like, you might think I'm crazy for going with this, but I just feel like running backs are hard to find, and someone as Gibbs' skills, I think this is one where I feel safe, right? Even with JSN and Gibbs, if your team, I'm okay if you went in at 4. Remember, we're talking about both sides. If I'm building the team, I want JSN. I feel safer with him. Gibbs, I want at 5. If I have a team where I'm looking where I'm balanced, right? I got this pick through a trade, and I can go, hey, I got 2 quarterbacks and 1 okay one, right? My third quarterback is Derek Carr, or whatever the case may be, who's more than okay. Or maybe Ryan Tannehill. He's getting towards the end of his career. The Titans don't know what they're going to do. Could you grab Richardson or someone like that? Yeah, but if you have other weapons, remember, even if you go, hey, I need those 3 quarterbacks, you're going to only play 2 most of the time. If you stop and think about it. I know sometimes you might have a tough matchup, but it's going to be like, what good is having that third quarterback always just sitting on the bench, even if you rotate them 2 times throughout the season, when you can get someone like Gibbs or JSN and pop them in and week out and be a factor and help you. I know we need the 3 quarterbacks, but not at the expense of talented players like this. So that's who I would get at 5. Either way, I would go out, if I have a good team, unless you need a quarterback, grab the running back. And I've seen this in other drafts. We've seen this where Justin Herbert, the draft when he came out, and it was Tua, Burrow, and Herbert, and I saw a draft, the first 4 players were all running backs. In a Superflex, I was shocked, right? I got to 5, and I'm like, dude, I can get Burrow, Tua. I ended up not getting Herbert, but I had multiple picks that draft, and I'm like, how did Justin Jefferson go 11 and Herbert went like 12? I know there was some talk that Herbert wasn't that great, but the point was it was a Superflex, and sometimes people just get so excited and they let the quarterbacks fall. This is not a situation like that. I'm not going after Gibbs because I just want a running back and I'm excited. I believe he is a difference maker and can help a team. If you have absolute no quarterbacks, then yes, I would say, I got pick 5. The other guys are off. Give me Richardson. Take Richardson. I'm okay with that, with situations. But if I'm building my team and I'm going to go through the draft and it's my pick, I'm taking Gibbs as my star running back for my team I'm building over Richardson. All right, let's get to number 6, the last player in this Superflex 2023 rookie mock draft, and that is Anthony Richardson, quarterback, Florida. Now, of all the quarterbacks coming out, he is the best rushing quarterback in this draft. Why would I have him fall so far? I personally am not that excited, especially after the combine went off. I watch Richardson, not all the time. I saw him in about 3 games last year, and he had that big one. I can't remember what team they were playing, but it was at home. It was like a Saturday night game. He had that big drive. He helped him win the game, but it was all with his legs, and I wasn't impressed so much with his throwing. Then they got to the next week, and they did lose. It was another game where it was close, but when I watch him, I just felt like look at his stats. He had 17 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Now, he did have 9 rushing touchdowns and 654 yards, 6.3 yards per carry. Outstanding. We know what got him hyped was the combine. He had such an incredible combine that they're like, people are drooling all over him. Now, he did not come into that combine on a high level, but after he left on it. And all I think about is, it always comes back, and it's not Ryan Leaf, it's none of that. I don't think he's like Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf had his own personal demons and different issues mentally. I think with Richardson, I think he's got all the skill, physical skill, but if I don't see it in college, in a big program, SEC, why am I going to see it now? And that was the thing with Herbert. If you look at him, some of the experts like, oh, it seems like in Oregon there was times he checked out and he had some of the weak Pac-12 defenses, or he couldn't take on some of the Pac-12. How did he not be able to beat some of them when he's supposed to be some elite quarterback? And he did have great games, and he showed great talent. He was a top, first 5 picks. But I could see that in college. But I did see a lot of great play with him, with Herbert. And in the pros, we've seen that a little bit, him step down in some games where he kind of disappears. I want to say, was it Baltimore or Cleveland this last year, where you're just like, where is he? But for the most part, he's been outstanding in the pros. And that's what I'm afraid with Richardson is he going to be out there like Jamarcus Russell? I don't think he's going to be that much of a bust. But how he's got all these physical abilities and physical gifts, and then he's going to get out there and it's not going to register. He's going to be able to scramble. He could put up great fantasy numbers, right? But how long? Look how quick it's over like that for Zach Wilson. Look how it's done almost for Sam Darnold. I mean, 4 years, 3 years. Zach Wilson, it literally isn't this his 3rd year? And that's it. I mean, he's a backup. And where's he going to go next? Is he getting another shot? Is that going to be Richardson? His feet might help you this year and possibly next year. I don't know. When I see a guy who has 7-8 yards per pass, 53 completion percentage, the other guys we talked about were in the mid or higher 60s. And that's college. I know it's SEC, but there's still opportunities where you have to complete more than 53% of your pass. It's got to be 58. It's got to be 60. It's got to be... That's just my fear. That's just for me personally. You want Rich to go for it. If I get to... I have in some of my leagues where I have 5 and 6, and I only have one starting quarterback in a Superflex. I will draft Richardson there. I'll take Richardson over Will Levis. But I just... It's like I think he'll be good, but part of it just scares. I've seen it before. I know it's different. It's different from years to generations it is now, but Achilles Smith, 1-year wonder, and he was a complete bust. I already talked about Jamarcus Russell. What we're talking about was Zach Wilson. There's just, you've seen these quarterbacks where you're just like, I don't know. So with that, but overall, let's talk about Richardson. He's the best rushing quarterback to draft. He's going to have great draft capital. So even if he does go in his first season and struggles, he's going to do good for fantasy with the rushing, I believe, right? Not as good as Justin Fields, but he can do something high level. He's also going to get time. If he does struggle this year, if he mentally does not act immature or screw it up, he'll get probably 3 seasons out of it. The team's not going to bail on him. They're going to want to surround him with weapons and give him a fair opportunity. So Zach Wilson screwed this up after 2 years because of this and immaturity. Yep. Immaturity, not progressing. If Richardson goes out there and says, hey, man, all the right things and still has the maturity of a Steve McNair, even if he struggles with his passing game, but moves the ball and keeps the team in games and they barely lose, like the Bears always struggled to just get a few wins last year, I think he'll get a few seasons and maybe he will progress. You know, I'm not no Mel Kiper college expert.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper in a way?
I'm just a guy who likes fantasy and has been doing it for years, and I just had that strange feeling with him. So Richardson at 6, if I'm building, let's say you get to this point, and let's say the other guys weren't taken, right? You're at pick 6, and maybe, I don't know, maybe there is, or maybe even you're 4. Where do you want to put Richardson? Comment, let me know in the comments. Is it wrong? Would you take Richardson over Gibbs, over JSN? If I'm building the team, I wouldn't. I would take those two and just go from there. It always fluctuates. That's why it's hard. You have to take in consideration, right? We know Bijan Robinson is top. He's by himself. Then you got CJ and Young, I think, are right there for the next tier. Then where does Richardson go? Is he in there with Gibbs? Is he in there with JSN? To me, no. I got to see more. I just didn't. The Simpsons, Seymour Butts. That just popped in my mind whenever I say it. Seymour, the house is on fire. So, but I just have to see more with it. I feel safer with Gibbs and JSN. Then maybe after that, the next tier might be Richardson and so on. So we'll cover more on that with that, hopefully, like I said, leave in the comments who you like. Who would you take in these spots? Am I crazy with any of these? Leave a like, subscribe, and we will also have more sports stories, more shorts, more things on players we love and who we want to pick up in this offseason as we get ready for the NFL draft. Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys later. Peace.